Let's do a little San Francisco 49ers mailbag. You're watching the 49ers Report. My name is Chase Sr. Thanks for hanging out here with us. Really looking forward to opening up the floor and answering all of your questions. Some important dates for all of you to remember. Niners rookies will report the training camp on July 15th. That date is going to be here before we know it. The start of training camp, when veterans have to report and the real practice sessions get underway, is a week later on July 22nd. The Niners preseason opener on August 9th against the Denver Broncos. Regular season opener, after 2 more preseason games, of course, is on September 7th in Seattle, and I have you covered every step of the way. So be sure to lock us in. Hit that subscribe button for the most elite Niners coverage right here on YouTube. Let's start to take your questions here, and let's begin with Karen Hardy 1132. Will Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch be on the hot seat if they have a bad season? Will they keep 4 quarterbacks? If not, who goes away? Do you see Trent retiring soon? How soon will Brandon Ayuk be back? Thank you, Karen. Thank you for that loaded question. Will Kyle Shanahan and John Lynch be on the hot seat if they have a bad year? I do not think so. And I know a lot of people have grown tired of the Shanahan-Lynch regime. Do you remember how awful the Niners were as an organization when they took over in 2017? The roster sucked. The culture was a mess. There was no organizational stability. Do you want to go back to that awful era that preceded both of them? What they've been able to do has been so impressive in the aftermath of the Chip Kelly, Jim Tomsula era. You want to go back to the Mike Singletary era? You move on from Shanahan and Lynch, and you run the risk of doing that. You move on from Shanahan and Lynch, who are you going to replace them with? Kyle Shanahan is a top 5 coach. John Lynch is a very good general manager. They take over in 2017. They rebuild the team for 2 years. 2019, they make it to the Super Bowl. They're up by 10 points going into that fourth quarter. Shoot, they had that 10-point lead with a few minutes left to go in that game before Kansas City went wild. The Patrick Mahomes miracle ball to Tyreek Hill. I know, he got behind the defense. They lost that game. Bad year in 2020 because they are the most injured team in football. Then they make it to the NFC Championship game in 2021. Make it back in 2022. Could have won that game if Brock Purdy didn't destroy his elbow. They make it back in 2023 and make it to the Super Bowl, so close to winning. I know a lot of you were saying, but Chase, they didn't win the game. I understand that. But the Niners as an organization have not won a Super Bowl since the 1994 season. Lynch and Shanahan give this team a shot week in and week out every single year. They are an elite head coach, general manager duo, and Jed York has all of the faith and all of the trust in them. I think the Niners are going to be good this year, but they are going to be young. This is a little bit of a transitional year. They've kind of tweaked this roster and rebuilt it in a certain way where there could be some growing pains. So while I think they make the playoffs, if they don't, no, I don't think they're going to get fired. Will the Niners keep 4 quarterbacks? No way. The most they keep is 3, and I think the 3 will be Brock Purdy, Mac Jones, Tanner Mordecai. Curtis Rourke will have a redshirt year because he's still recovering from that ACL surgery this offseason that he played with last year at Indiana. Do you see Trent Williams retiring soon? Yes, I do. I mean, it's going to be 37 years old this month, so at some point soon he's going to retire. How soon will Brandon Ayuk be back? Let's call it weeks 5 through 8 as the target. Joseph Scollin with the next question. Will Mykel Williams be Defensive Rookie of the Year, and can Christian McCaffrey have a healthy season in 2025? Mykel Williams has an opportunity to be Defensive Rookie of the Year. He's one of the odds-on favorites to win that award. I think he's going to help this run defense right away. He already has NFL-ready size. I think he's going to be a good scheme fit in this wide 9-4-3. I also think that he can win some mismatches when he lines up along the interior at defensive tackle. When the Niners run that NASCAR package and they put Bryce Huff at defensive end, they slide Mykel Williams to the inside. Chris Kocurek has talked about that. And so I think Williams could have 6 to 8 sacks, and he could very well compete for Defensive Rookie of the Year. You know, Jared Verse didn't have a ton of sacks last year, and he still won Defensive Rookie of the Year. Christian McCaffrey, can he stay healthy? That's a big question. He has missed 10 or more games in 3 of the last 5 years. Durability has been a really big concern. In 2022 and in 2023, he did stay healthy. Hopefully he can stay healthy in 2025 because he's one of the most dynamic players in football, but the injury history is certainly there. Everything that we've seen, everything that we've heard, McCaffrey looks really, really good. Purdy Nation, will CJ West be solid for this season? I think he will. He has an elite set of skills, and he has something that I think will allow him to be a contributor right from the jump, and that's being really explosive with his get-off and having really strong hands. And that's going to allow him to win battles at the line of scrimmage. His combine testing numbers were very impressive. There was an uptick in competition after he transferred to Indiana. He played better, and he played better in the Big Ten going up against some NFL-ready offensive linemen. And he's going to be a part of that defensive tackle rotation because the Niners do not have a ton of depth at that position. Letitia Aguilar, when is the Niners' first game? We answered that a little bit earlier. Week 1 against the Seattle Seahawks. Niners will go on the road against a Seattle team that has a makeover from last year. Sam Darnold in for Geno Smith at quarterback. No more DK Metcalf or Tyler Lockett. They brought in DeMarcus Lawrence, Mike McDonald going into year 2. I really like what he's done with that defense. So Niners Seahawks week 1 in Seattle, going to be a difficult game. Caden Madison, 49ers had the 4th best offense last year. Apart from the red zone, they seemed efficient. If Kyle can fix our red zone issues, could this be the number 1 offense in the league? Yeah. And not only did they struggle in the red zone, but on third downs, and they were the 2nd most injured offensive unit in the entire National Football League. And they still had the 4th best total offense in the league. You fix some of those issues, that will skyrocket you up the leaderboard. And if they don't have as many injuries, if Kyle Shanahan coaches better, Brock Purdy plays better, and they both are capable of doing that, and you have more continuity without those injuries, you can improve. You can be good. So the additions of Christian McCaffrey coming back, Trent Williams being healthy, I think they tried to force-feed Deebo Samuel a little bit too much last year. That hurt them. You have to escape without Brandon Ayuk for a while. This offensive line is still a middle-of-the-pack unit, but I think this offense, all things considered, can be really good in 2025. Era Lee 85, is there any hope for our kicker situation? Is there anyone that we can tap who would be a viable option to come in as a kicker other than the competition? So Greg Joseph is the competition going into training camp. He has familiarity with special teams coordinator Brant Boyer, who takes over for Brian Schneider. Here's the thing about Greg Joseph. He wasn't that great and hasn't been great over the last couple of years. And throughout his career, he has struggled from 50-plus. What I would have done, bring in Nick Folk. He's an older kicker, but the last 2 years, he's been the most accurate kicker. That's a true threat to push Jake Moody, who psychologically and mentally faltered last year, really struggled in between the ears. I want to bring in a presence who's really going to push him. I don't think that Greg Joseph really does that. But if Jake Moody in the preseason misses some kicks, if in training camp he struggles, I want to see the Niners put the pressure on him. Go no huddle, where he has to run out and hit a pressure kick as time is winding down. Put him in pressure cooker situations and see how he fares. And if he doesn't fare well, see ya. Never use a third-round pick on a kicker. So is there any hope? Yeah, there's hope. Because as a rookie, I thought he fared pretty well. Missed some big kicks, fared pretty well. But, man, when you use a third-round pick on a position that is already mentally fickle, then you put more mental pressure at that position on that player, it just rarely works out. Go 49ers. Will the Niners sign any good safeties or corners from free agency? Jason Pinnock and Richie Grant performed very well during the spring. And that gives you confidence that they could be good depth pieces behind Malik Mustafa and Jair Brown. Now, Jair Brown's coming off an ankle cleanup procedure. Malik Mustafa had that ACL surgery cleanup. But with the video that I showed you here on the show a couple of Fridays ago, he's looking pretty good. So you could go the route of Justin Simmons, Julian Blackman. There are some good safeties out there. But I think the Niners like those depth pieces who they signed in free agency. Spartan Virus. Who can we expect to be linebacker 2 out there with Fred? That's an unknown. going into 2025. My guess is that your starting backers are going to be Fred Warner in the middle, of course, best off-ball linebacker in the game, with D. Winters and Nick Martin alongside him. Will Nick Martin be strong side linebacker, weak side linebacker? Will D. Winters be weak side linebacker, strong side linebacker? That's going to really go up to the coaching staff with what they want to do at those positions. But I think this is the best guess for what the starting threesome is going to be in this 4-3 defense. Angelic Thunder on YouTube. Are the Niners going to sign Asante Samuel Jr.? He's an option. I think cornerback depth is a huge problem for this team. Samuel Jr. had a neck procedure this offseason. He has a checkup this month. So he's going to see where he is, and teams are going to see where he's at. And if the Niners don't really like their depth at corner, which I don't think they do, which is why they worked out Damon Arnett, then I think they might have to sign a player like that. And Asante Samuel Jr. is a former second-round pick out of Florida State. His first 3 years in the NFL, he had double-digit pass breakups each year. He's a really good football player. And I like the starting 3 at corner for the Niners: Deommodore Lenoir, Renardo Green, Upton Stout. But depth is a concern. If one of those players went down, it looks scarce. So Asante Samuel Jr. is a player who I would certainly look at there. Soft 830. Will Christian McCaffrey be healthy this year? Will Jawan Jennings step up as wide receiver 1? Talked about McCaffrey a little bit earlier here on the mailbag. Will Jawan Jennings step up as wide receiver 1? He was last year, had nearly 1,000 yards. Ideally, you don't want him to be wide receiver 1 because he's not a wide receiver 1. You want Ricky Pearsall to be in that spot as a former first-round pick. You want Brandon Ayuk to be in that role and come off that knee surgery because of what you paid him and what you saw he's capable of doing, becoming an all-pro in 2023. Ashboy, can the Niners make the Super Bowl on defense alone? No, they're going to need some help on the offensive side of the football. The defense can't carry this team. Shark City Native 408, why is Moody still on the Niners? Because San Francisco is trying to justify him being a third-round pick. Faithful to the Bay, will JJ be wide receiver 1? Again, ideally, you don't want that to happen. And then Jacob Johnson, who is going to be RB3. So McCaffrey, RB1, Isaac Guerrero, RB2, and I think that Jordan James is going to be RB3. I think that is going to be your 1-2-3 punch, and then maybe Patrick Taylor, special teams value, is RB4. Be sure to give me a follow on X and Instagram, by the way, at Chase_Senior. I'm always talking Niners here on YouTube and on my social media pages, reaching millions of people every single month. And with 4th of July weekend here, get ready for next 4th of July. With this Niners 4th of July shirt, chatsports.com/49ers4th. It's an incredible shirt, and really you can wear it all year round. Support the team, support America, and limited time only. It's on sale right now.